I show right at 7 o'clock, so let's get this party started on time. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to meet, my name is Andy Huff. I'm president of the White Oak Hills Neighborhood Association. I got a few White Oak Hills folks in the house tonight, just down Memorial Drive. We're very proud to be here and have all the surrounding communities here from South DeKalb and Atlanta in DeKalb here in the room with us tonight. Going to be a great discussion, as it always is when our communities get together. I know there'll be a lot of questions and a lot of comments that'll be shared tonight, and we're very much looking forward to that. So again, thank you all for being here, and without further ado, let's bring up our CEO, Burrell Ellis.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? It's good to see you all tonight. I want to thank you for coming out, and we had a little rain, but it looks like it's going to be a good night tonight. I'm joined by Commissioner Larry Johnson. Stand up, Commissioner Johnson. Everybody can see you and recognize you. Thank you for being here. I don't see any other elected officials, but we'll recognize them as they come in. I want to just give you a quick overview of why we're doing this and why we wanted to be here this evening. And y'all have on red. Is that planned, or you just happen to be wearing red? Okay. I see red. I see blood. All right. Do I need my body man? Okay. She said yes. All right. Well. Larry, is that why you wearing red too? All right. He's got my back. I might need him. When I ran for CEO, I promised that the way I campaigned would be the way I governed. And we ran for this office by having a number of community face-to-face conversations. We've continued to do that throughout. We think periodically it's time for us to go back and report on our progress, but also continue to hear from you so that we can make your priorities the priority of your county government. And so I want you to know that while we have a number of good things to report, in the public safety, we've improved that significantly. We've seen violent crime go down. Where's my chief? Is it 37%? 36 or 37? 37% violent crime, property crime down 26% over the last 3 years. But we're not going to rest on those laurels. We're continuing to move forward with some advances in public safety, and we've broken down some of the silos in our public safety departments. We have our police chief and our fire chief. They're both named O'Brien. They kind of look like each other even. But we've got them working under the coordination of our public safety director and other public safety functions in the county. And we've got some more police precincts that we'll be launching this year. So we're refiguring our police precincts so we can have more officers serving more citizens, bringing them closer to where our citizens live. We're reconfiguring the precincts, and we're adding more precincts to our numbers, and we think that's good news. We are creating jobs. You may have noticed the job bus out front. We, within the next 8.5 years, starting this spring, will be doing $1.35 billion in water and sewer upgrades to the county. These are upgrades that are to some degree mandated by the federal government, because we've got to ensure that our citizens have clean drinking water and flushable toilets. It's a basic human necessity, but at the same time, we have an opportunity to go out as we hire firms who will be doing the work of tearing up the pipes and upgrading our wastewater treatment plants. We have citizens who can then be hired by those firms, DeKalb County citizens, and put back to work. And so we have a job stimulus program called One DeKalb Works, and we're using that to create a number of jobs, over 4,000 jobs between now and 2015. 4,700 jobs is the number that we got from the Carl Vinson Institute of Government, I believe it was. And so we're making some advances to put people back to work. That's good news. We're supporting our school system. We know that the county is only as good as the school system. We think it's important that we continue to work to have a first-class school system. And while county government does not run the public schools, I think most of our citizens are aware that there is a separate system with a separate board of education, separate and apart from the CEO and the board of commissioners, that sets the budget for the schools and sets the policy for the schools. but at the same time, we want to work in a collaborative environment with our school system. And so we formed a higher education advisory committee comprised of the university and college presidents in DeKalb County and to some extent beyond our borders. And we decided to take on a very serious issue, and we've taken on the issue of providing support and working to improve the public school system. We're operating a STEM program. So in the summer months, the schools provide facilities and the county provides staffing so that we can provide activities for our young people so that they don't get rusty in the summer. So these are some of the things that we're doing to work together to work with the school system. Don't be surprised if the superintendent, Dr. Atkinson, or one of the school board members come in to the meeting tonight. I don't know whether they will or not, but regularly they do come and visit because of the partnership and the strong link and the commitment we have to work together. But all of these things, as much as they're designed to improve the quality of life in the county, none of them would be possible if we didn't have a strong finances to undergird the county. And one of the things that we discovered when I took office in 2009, we were into a recession at that point. The county was still spending at levels of pre-recession. We were spending more than we were bringing in. Our revenues were declining. Our primary source of revenue, as you probably know, comes from the value of property in the county. And the value of property was declining because of the recession. And so we had to do a few things. We had to rein in our spending, and we had to bring up our revenue. We looked at non-tax sources of revenue first, and then we looked at other sources as well. The county, because we failed to act as quick as we should have, took a real hit. We were warned that we might have our bond rating revoked. A bond rating is our credit rating. Just like each of us has a credit rating, the county has to borrow money from time to time, whether it's a major borrowing, such as the $1.35 billion that we borrow in advance to repair our water and sewer system, or whether it's short-term borrowing to ensure that we have cash flow over the course of the year. And we weren't able to do that without a bond rating. We weren't able to go to market. And so we had to get busy and get to work. We needed our Board of Commissioners to join us and partner with us, and they took the appropriate actions to fix the budget. Commissioner Johnson, who's the presiding officer of the Board of Commissioners, and I then went up to New York, to Wall Street, to meet with Standard & Poor's and Moody's, the rating agencies, along with our finance department, who's here, and other members of our staff, to tell them not only the good news of what we're doing to improve our infrastructure in the county, but to make sure also that our fiscal infrastructure was sound, to show that we had the political willingness to do the right things, to cut our expenses, to consolidate our departments, to be more efficient, and to raise revenue when necessary in order to support the operations of the county and to ensure that our debt would be repaid. And we did that. We had a good story to tell at that point, and the good news is that our ratings have been restored. We recently went to the market twice, once for the water and sewer upgrade. Our bonds were sold very aggressively within about 2 hours. And we got great rates for our citizens. And then recently we did a short-term borrowing to ensure that we had the cash flow we needed over the course of the year. And we got less than a quarter of 1% interest on those bonds. So that is phenomenal news. So we've worked really hard to restore the finances of the county, to improve public safety, to create jobs and rebuild our infrastructure, and to support our schools. But even with all that good work, and I see that some of you have our stakeholders report, and you can read a lot more detail than I have time for tonight, I want you to know that our work is not finished. This is an important year because it's an election year. And we've got to get out and we've got to vote in numbers that we've never seen before. And DeKalb County has a reputation. It used to be said, as DeKalb County goes, so goes the state of Georgia. We obviously have a presidential election year. We just passed our presidential primary last week. In November, we'll be going back to the polls to elect a president. I'm a supporter of President Obama's. I believe he's done a good job. I believe he's worthy of re-election. But we'll be going to make that decision. And let me tell you how important it is. The difference between the two candidates in the 2008 election was 204,000 votes. we've got 100,000 unregistered voters right here in DeKalb County. So if you don't think we can make a difference, we can make a serious dent and a difference right here by making sure that everybody of voting age is registered to vote and that we mobilize and get our citizens out to vote. But it's not just November. In July, on July 31st, in the middle of the summer, when unfortunately some may be on vacation, but we do have early or advanced voting, so you're not limited to one day. But we've got an important election on July 31st when several local races will be held. The CEO's race, half of the county commission will be up, several other elected officials such as the sheriff and the clerk of the court and the district attorney, I believe, is up this year, the tax commissioner. There'll be several local races that will be held on that date. There will be an important regional referendum on transportation that will be up that day. And I just want you to know we have clearly a congestion problem in the metro area. We have an opportunity because of legislation passed by the state to begin to resolve that problem by building transportation improvements. $6.14 billion over the next 10 years throughout the metro region, 10 counties, 20% of that money, $1.3 billion, coming back to DeKalb County. That is a significant return on investment. 1 out of every $5 regionally will be spent right here in DeKalb County, plus an added portion that will be coming for the local government to reapportion or to allocate every year. So DeKalb County stands to be a big winner. Over $1 billion of that $1.3 billion will be going to transit improvements. What we're doing is we're making a down payment on our future. I was in Washington week before last, and one of the things I heard is that even in a difficult economy, strategic investments are necessary. And we've got to make sure that we continue to rebuild our infrastructure, not only to alleviate the traffic congestion, but to create jobs in the metro area. And so we have a tremendous opportunity with a tremendous return on our investment here in DeKalb County. Now, we're going to take questions for most of our time. We started on time tonight at 7. We're going to end on time at 8:30. I want to make sure that I respect your time for being here. We're going to just do Q&A. I have some staff here so that if you ask a question and I can answer it, I will do my best and I will answer it. I'll be as open and as candid and as straightforward with you as I can possibly be. If I don't know the answer, and I can tell you, the more narrow your question, the less likely is that I'm going to be able to answer it. In other words, if you ask me maybe a general question, I should be able to do it. If you want to know why that pothole at 3297 Windsor Lane has not yet been filled, I may not know the answer, but we'll take down your address and we'll get the information for you, okay? And again, we have several staff who are here to help. We'll just raise our hands and we'll call and we'll go around and we'll do this till 8:30. Guess who gets the first question? Animal Services. Yes. And I think we have some microphones. Gabriel, has your mic.
Hi.
Hi.
I was watching the 5 o'clock news tonight, and
Well, how'd I do?
you were great.
Okay,
I was
thanks.
very
I haven't
happy.
seen it. Okay.
But you mentioned that you are looking into now land to build a new shelter. Can you go on record to tell us more about it?
Yeah. And thank you for that question, and thank you for your faithfulness to this issue. I know it's an issue of concern. We have a problem with animal services. We have a number of, you know. Thank you. So now, is that why the red shirts? Okay. Now I know. Yeah, I was born at night, but not last night. So I realize we not only have a problem, but we've had a problem for some time. And when I first became CEO, I did a tour of the facility, and we put together an animal services task force. You can stand or you can sit if you like. I'm gonna take my time and answer this question because I'm gonna probably get re-asked it in some form or fashion before the night's over. And so we knew that we had to do something about it, and so we wanted to have a citizen-driven approach. In fact, some citizens came to me, they pointed it out. We sat down with the Board of Commissioners and began to say, what can we do? And so the board and I put together a task force, and we told that task force to go about looking at the issue, helping us to come up with some solutions that we could actually enact, understanding that in the recessionary times we lived through, we have a revenue issue. So we didn't just have unlimited monies that we could throw at a problem. And I think that that task force has done a tremendous job in putting together some recommendations, very thorough, very detailed. I received the report just about 2 weeks ago. We spent that period of time reviewing the report. We sent it over to the Board of Commissioners a few days ago, and we've asked them to also review the report. We've asked to be on the agenda. Mr. Presiding Officer, we're trying to get on your agenda, if you haven't gotten the word, next Tuesday, I believe, so we can make a formal report to the Board of Commissioners. So don't hit the commissioner up. He hasn't been briefed yet. But we're going to, other than getting the report, but we're going to make sure that the report, that the administration briefs the report. Yesterday morning, I had a detailed briefing. Actually, Friday, I had a detailed briefing from my staff. Yesterday morning, we had a continuation of that briefing. I decided to do another visit. So my most recent visit to the facility was actually on yesterday, early afternoon. And so we walked around the facility. We have done a few things immediately. One is we put into our budget the funding for 10 new positions because we know we need positions. And the board approved that. So that's more good news. Today, we submitted to the Board of Commissioners a proposal to allocate money that's already in the budget, $400,000 to fix the ventilation system there because it's pretty bad. I was there just yesterday, and it's going to be worse in the months of May, June, July, okay? So we believe by July, Commissioner, you might have sent that to committee today. I haven't gotten the word back, but you all received that today. Okay, so they have that before them. I'm confident that because they're hearing from you, like I'm hearing from you, and they're going to get the briefing that we're getting, that they'll act fast on that, and assuming that that happens, we'll be able to put in a new facility as early as July, okay? A new facility, a new air conditioning system as early as July, okay? So that's more good news. We've got an RFP going out in 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, our RFP will go out so that we can look at opportunities to outsource. A request for proposals. I'm sorry, I'm talking like a government person. Okay, a request for proposals. In other words, we have a procurement. Does that sound too government-ish? Okay, we have to competitively bid for county contracts. And we're looking at the possibility, at least, of outsourcing the animal services. Now, we don't know whether that we'll do that or not, but we'll put out the proposals. We'll look at the options that come back, and we'll do a cost-benefit analysis. But that was one of the recommendations that came from the committee. And within 2 weeks, that should hit the streets, and then there will be a time for proposals to come in, and then we'll evaluate those proposals, and we'll make appropriate recommendations to the Board of Commissioners at that point. Director Mooneyham is here, and you're leaving in July, is that right? Yes. So within 90 days, we're going to have identified a successor for the director position. One of the recommendations that has come to me from staff, one of the recommendations that came from the task force is that we need a new facility. And the recommendation is as high. That's the good news. The hurdle is $8 million, okay? And we don't have $8 million. But because we've identified some sites, some land that we own in 3 different locations, we're beginning to look at those sites and do an analysis to determine how we can build on those sites that the county already owns and do it at a cheaper cost than the $8 million that was identified in the report. And so I took an initial, I'll get you next. I took an initial look at those sites yesterday. Staff is doing an analysis. I came back yesterday afternoon and we met with the chair of the task force and one of the co-chairs of the task force, Susan Nugent, and we told her some of the things that we were planning to do. She gave us some initial feedback and told us that in looking at the best practices throughout the nation, and they've cited some cities with best practices, that it's important that we operate from a more comprehensive approach. And so she gave us some good feedback that we took from this session with her. On Friday, I'll be meeting with all of the members of the task force so that I can listen and hear directly from them. And as I mentioned, Tuesday, with the presiding officer's permission, we'll be before the Board of Commissioners and we'll make a presentation to the board. So I want to make sure she sees me. So those are the steps we're taking so far, okay? That's what I can tell you today. Okay, she has the next question right here. I'll bounce back and forth from side to side. Okay, but I told her she'd have the next question. Let me pick them. You just point them out, okay? Yes, ma'am.
There's a question after somebody else has a turn. I just wanted to interject the question.
It's your turn.
Can you tell us what those locations
Well, she needs a mic. Yeah.
Can you tell us what the locations are? Are they desirable, accessible locations?
I don't want to do that just yet, because I might be jumping a little ahead of myself, because I don't know what the analysis is going to come back with. But I do think it's important for you to know that we're looking at some options. It may be one of those options that we're able to go with. I mean, I don't get the final say-so on this. Obviously, we have to look at how we're going to finance it, and we have some ideas in mind. We have to present that to the Board of Commissioners after we've done our evaluation, and then the Board of Commissioners will get to vote on whether they want to expend the money in that type of way. And so we're a few steps away, but we believe without any significant snags, within 12 months, we could begin construction on a new facility. So that's the direction we're headed in, okay? All right, who do you want me to call next, Erica? Okay, yes, ma'am. And then I'll come back over here.
Yes, I'm representing some of the tennis players from Sugar Creek Tennis Center in South DeKalb County.
Yes, ma'am.
And we recently we had a new management that started in January who, we haven't had, good times with. So I just wanted to ask, why are fees so much higher at Sugar Creek Tennis Center compared to DeKalb and Blackburn? And also we wanted to ask about the idea that the person who took over the contract is not qualified to run a tennis center.
All right. I'm going to let, because I don't know the answer to that, I'm going to let our Deputy COO of Infrastructure, Ted Reinhardt, who oversees Parks and Recreation and knows more about that contract, answer that question.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yes, as you stated, this is a new contract. It's a very different arrangement than previous years. The challenge for the county was the golf and tennis operations, Mystery Valley and Sugar Creek, had been losing a combined $800,000 a year. So taxes were having to subsidize those facilities, and with the budgets getting tighter and a parks budget cut several $1 million, the challenge this last year was to get a new contract that would break even and not have a tax subsidy for golf and tennis. And so throughout the year, the purchasing department managed a procurement and a negotiation with the best and final proposals. And right at the end of the year, the board approved this new contract, which eliminates the tax subsidy, since parks couldn't afford to do that anymore. And that was certainly better than having to close the facilities or sell the facilities. But now the new vendors are in a transition period. Now, per the contract, they do have to have qualified professionals. That's spelled out. They can't charge more than what the current codes allow. Only the Board of Commissioners can set fees legally. And so if you think you're being charged a fee that's not in the schedule, the Parks Department has that whole schedule. I think it's posted right on their website. So you should know, here's what the legal fees are, and they can't charge more than what the board's approved. And then they are going through a transition with some new staff and new management. But after this first quarter, if things aren't looking good, then of course the Parks Department can document any inconsistencies, go to the purchasing department, complete vendor performance. But I'm optimistic that we will, get this transition period underway. But you do have to have some sympathy for the vendors, because they've got to go from having several $100,000 subsidy to finding some efficiencies that break even while still delivering the service per the contract and staying within the fees that the Board of Commissioners set.
Yeah, and what I want to say is two things that I heard from you struck me. One, I heard you say that the fee structure at Sugar Creek is different from Blackburn, and where else? You named another part. DeKalb Tennis Center over at Midway? Okay, so I want to find out why that is, Ted, if we can. All right, somebody, and I'm not sure who that somebody is, so wave your hand if you're that somebody, but somebody's going to come over and get your information, okay, so that we can get back and tell you what the fees are and why the fee structure is different. And the other thing is, even when we use outside vendors, as we're using, as Ted described, we still expect you to have good customer service. Okay, so if that's the case, write that down, and we will talk to the vendor about it. Now, the more of a similar type of concern as we get, then the more we can do something about it. But we expect our vendors to deliver top-notch customer service, okay? And we'll make sure that we get that to you. I think I promised the gentleman right here the next question. Yes, sir. Let me say, we'll go to 8:30, and we'll be usually, I'm not sure what time the Y's putting us out, but we're usually here for another 20 minutes or so. I'll be here, and staff will be here too, so we'll take as many as we can up to 8:30, and if there's any burning questions left over, we'll still be around. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Wardell Castles. I live in Decatur, Georgia. I'd like to apologize for my red brothers and sisters for not being in the dress code tonight. I just want to make a statement, no question, that you mentioned in your opening statements about how elections are close. I want to let you know that I personally, while I am cautiously optimistic about the direction the county is going now, as a block of 3,000 people who have signed the petition, we're going to be watching very closely what the county does and now until election time. This goes both for the CEO office and the commissioners.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think that's your right, and I think that's your duty and your obligation, and that's exactly what we want you to do. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your comment. I'll come back and get you. Let me get one over here. Yes, sir. You have the next question.
Yes, my name is Alphonso Jones. I'm here representing against Sugar Creek Tennis Association. We have the same problem. We have been trying to reach the Park and Recreation Director, Roy Wilson, and John Anderson. They're not returning calls. I have also made in the calls and talked to Suzanne Amato about trying to get Mr. Reinhardt to return the call because we've been having problems at Sugar Creek, and we haven't been getting any return calls.
Okay, well, number one, again, who's taking down the information? Who's taking it down? You're taking it down? Okay, but you're working the mic.
I got it.
Okay, Claudette Leak is seated over here. She's going to get your information, and you're going to get a call tomorrow, okay? Okay, well, you didn't hear from me. You're going to get a call tomorrow.
I heard from you at your campaign kickoff.
Yeah, well.
You told me to talk to Nina Hall.
Yeah, Nina Hall's here right now. Nina Hall has a strong. Listen, yeah, if we drop the ball, let me tell you something. I apologize to you, but I'll say this, and I'm not just saying this because Nina Hall is here. I'll say it because folks know Nina Hall. Nina Hall does a good job of returning phone calls. If she missed your call, well, you work for Nina Hall. Come on. But we'll fix it. We'll fix it, okay? Claudette, make sure you get this gentleman's information, and you will get a call tomorrow. And make sure I have it tomorrow. I'll stand over Roy Wilson if I have to and call you myself, okay? All right. Make sure you give me that number tonight, okay? Thank you, Claudette. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Pat Camp, and I usually don't need a mic, but okay. I wanted to ask about the 10 positions that you referenced earlier. Yes. Will those include positions to work in the shelter?
I'm going to let the director answer that because you know specifically what the position is going to be used for.
Out on the road.
The question is, are those positions to work in the shelter? I think the answer is yes, but let me give you the mic.
The positions would be both for field and for kennel.
Okay. And well, that's good, because I know both are needed. Both are needed. Just to follow up on something Wardell said, we have 3,000 signatures now, but we're still collecting signatures, so pretty soon it'll be a lot more. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We obviously want those signatures, okay? All right. Yes, ma'am. And I think, I hear what you're saying about the signatures. Understand this. I want to make sure, if you give me 1 second, because I want to make sure of this. We've got some good recommendations as a result, I think, of a good process that we've begun to identify the concerns and to come up with some solutions. We won't, and these are recommendations, citizen-driven recommendations. I'm taking them very seriously, and I believe the Board of Commissioners will take them very seriously. And then we're going to work together with the task force to come up with an implementation process. Understand, we won't be able to do everything in those recommendations, particularly in the short term. Some are immediate things, and you're hearing what we're already doing immediately. Some of them are going to be short term, and then some of them are going to be longer term solutions. But we want to change, as the task force chair told me, the objective of our administration is to change in a comprehensive way. What she said to me is that, and she used another county as an example nearby, and so you may know who that is and you may not, but I'm not going to use their name. But she says they have a wonderful facility, but their processes aren't necessarily improved. So she says a facility, while needed, is a physical manifestation of the overall changes that are taking place. I'm learning, I'm being educated as I'm working with this group. And so we're doing, some of the best work I did when I was a county commissioner, I think that I've done as a CEO, come from ideas and thoughts that come from citizens, and it's much easier to receive. Sometimes we get complaints, but we don't, well, so what's the solution? What should we do about it? And we get but it's been different this time. We've actually got some things that I think are workable. So we will be able to accomplish some things this year, I believe, with cooperation. We'll need your group at the table, continuing to push us at the county level, and we'll be able to tell you what we're going to do. And if you work reasonably with us, I think we can come up with a reasonable outcome that will be much improved over what we have today, okay? And that's what I'm committed to do. Yes, ma'am. You got a red shirt on, too.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I'm really excited that things are starting to move. I had two questions, if I can remember them now that I listened to your response. One is, are we still considering having inmates come and work in the facility as far as cleaning and feeding and stuff like that? And the other question was, can we quickly change the rabies money tag turn-in faster? Because I think we were reported that 1% of people turn in their rabies fees, of all people that get rabies tags, and turn it over to the vet, so the vet bills them the money and then sends the money in. It would be more responsible.
All right. First of all, Henry Rosenthal, take my picture down and put Director Mooneyham's picture up there at the town hall meeting. You're going to have to answer the fees question as best you can. I think I know the answer to using inmates, but I may need your help, or public safety director. I saw public safety directors here too. But we've looked at using inmates in other ways before, such as in code compliance, cleaning up the county. There's a real issue and potential liability in using inmates, people who are incarcerated, but we have used people who have misdemeanors and have to fulfill a community service obligation to help do some things in the past. And so that's worked out much better. And is there anything either one of you want to add to either one of those?
Thank you, sir. And again, I'm going to let Director Mooneyham answer the question about the rabies fees. I have spoken with Sheriff Brown. He is willing to let us use some inmate labor for those that have been sentenced. However, we do have community service workers, as the CEO said, people who are working off their time in exchange for getting their sentences raised. I just spoke with Shannon Zagorin earlier today. She works in the drug court. She told me that she has about 100% of their community service workers working in animal services now. So yes, it'll be a combination of all that.
Community service workers have been a big help. Our facility has had a lot of attention by the community service workers. I'm afraid I don't understand exactly the question about the rabies costs or the rabies fees.
When you get your tag, when you go get your dog's rabies shot,
Right?
and they give you the tag, and you're supposed to send in like $10 per dog for the rabies registration. I thought at one of the task force meetings they were saying that there's like a 1% compliance with that. That's a ton of money for all the dogs and cats that are in the community. And I think that other counties have a process where the vets are put in charge of that. So the vet gives you the tag in the first place. So if the vet can put that $10 fee on the client's bill, and then they are responsible for turning it in, I guess probably in mass, monthly or something like that, I can't imagine how much money that would probably be.
Some of the, and you're right, we don't recoup a lot of the registration fees. One of the task force recommendations that we were looking into is to actually have some sort of a fee, not necessarily a fee adjustment, but to put it on our website where people can actually go onto the website to pay the fees, which would help a lot.
Seems like voluntarily asking somebody to do it just takes it out of their hands and they go screw it.
Yeah, and we used to bill for it, and that may be something that we can also look into doing, is to going back to billing for it, based on the rabies tags that the veterinarians put out.
All right, now you're reminding me of one more rule. If I've called on you, I'm probably not going to call on you again until I've called on everybody else. But I appreciate your passion and excitement on this issue. Yes, sir.
I live in Pine Lake, and we're a tight-knit community, and we've got a very small police department. And as a community, we've organized training for our police officers on how to deal with dogs running the streets. They went to a special training. We got special equipment for them. So there we are. We're a small community surrounded by this big community. And you're talking about an $8 million facility. Right now, we've got, almost on a daily basis, we've got roving packs of dogs running through this town, killing chickens, killing cats. We call and call and call. One woman was looking out her house window, and she said, "There's dogs killing my chickens, and it's got a cat." She called the county. The county came out and said, "I don't see anything," and drove off. She looked on the other side of her house. They were taking a nap. Okay? Yesterday, someone saw in broad daylight a raccoon and a possum fighting.
Who was taking a nap?
The dogs were sleeping. They had eaten the cat,
okay,
and now they were taking a nap.
Okay.
And the county drove off.
I just want to make sure.
Pine Lake is fed up because we've been told that we
I just want to make sure it wasn't the county employees who were taking a nap.
No, the county employee was not eating a cat. The problem that we see it is that we've had one-on-one conversations. I personally have had one-on-one conversations with the animal control officers who've come out, and he said, "There's only one of me today in a county. On Wednesdays, there's two of us." Okay, and you're talking about an $8 million facility. We don't even care about your $8 million facility. We want to know why we can't get a trap. When we called to ask for a trap to catch these rabid dogs running around killing the neighborhood pets, they said we don't have one. So, I mean, as a matter of public health, right now, what are we going to do? What are you going to do to protect us from the dogs that are these, I don't know, are they rabid or not? They sure act like it. I mean, this possum and a raccoon having a fight in broad daylight, and the possum was winning. We can't even, in Pine Lake, we can't even be concerned with this $8 million facility because right now we've got a major problem on our hands and we're getting a stiff arm.
Yeah, I appreciate that. First of all, understand that we're not talking about an $8 million facility, but that was part of the recommendation. What we're talking about is a comprehensive approach to better delivering animal services, and that includes resources. I mean, there's only so much you can do. When the officer said there's only one of me and there'll be two tomorrow, what the officer is saying is that I've got limited resources. I don't have the resources to do my job adequately.
And I'm saying a county this big, to have one animal control officer on duty in a day is embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing. It's a matter of public health.
Okay. So I'm trying to answer your question. Okay. And what I'm trying to say to you is this, that we're now beginning that allocation of resources that is being called for by so many people here today, by the task force that we appointed, and you've got our ear. And so, yes, a facility, a new facility, probably not an $8 million facility. Again, we're looking at Yeah, but just give me a chance. We're not going to do that this way. We're not going to cut each other off. I won't do that to you, and I don't want you to do that to me. But I think I understand what you're talking about. What I'm saying is a facility is a part of that, okay? And additional people are also a part of that. But the different way of doing business is a part of that. We also talked about off-site adoptions, for example. So when I say a comprehensive approach, I'll be more than happy to get you a copy of the report. And there's no way I can go through everything in the report. The report's about this thick and it's very detailed. But we're taking it very seriously. That's why some people said, well, you had it 2 weeks. Yeah, we had it 2 weeks. We studied it. We've had meetings. We've gone out, we met with the director, we met with the chair of the task force, we're meeting with the full task force, we're going to be sitting down with the members of the Board of Commissioners, and we're going to take it very seriously, and I think the Public Safety Director wants to add something.
Yes, sir. In the last 2 years, we've lost 10 animal control officers. Thanks to the CEO and Mr. Johnson and the rest of the Board of Commissioners, we are now replacing those 10 officers. As Director Mooneyham said, they're going to do a myriad of functions. They're not going to be just outside in the field. They're not going to be just inside the shelter. They're going to be cross-trained and triple-trained. We're going to turn at least one into an adoption coordinator. I personally know about the issues in Pine Lake, and Director Mooneyham and I have spoken. I can guarantee you that some traps were set. The dogs may have not been caught. We are willing to come back out, meet with you and anyone else, show us the locations. I know that you were saying they were coming from a neighborhood over the way or something, that you could track them back. We will be glad to put out more traps. We will do whatever we need to do to take care of your neighborhood, to make sure that your community is safe, the chickens, the cats, and everything. So we're willing to do all that for you, sir, and we have done a lot in that respect.
I appreciate that, and I assume that you understand our frustration when it comes to a grand plan, because right now, we feel like, and I know you can appreciate this, we don't have time for a grand plan. We don't have a long-term goal here. We're too concerned with the short-term goals.
I do understand.
We're years behind, okay? We are years behind. But we're going to take this day forward. I heard somebody said we're going to be measured on where we go from this day forward. So I think to the credit of not only this administration, but certainly to the citizens who said, yeah, I'll do it, who sat on that task force and took that job very seriously. We appoint task force all the time. And sometimes they come up with, but we gave them staff support, and we got people who were serious and passionate about the issue. And they gave us a very thorough report, and they broke it down, and they looked at, like I said, models across the nation, most of them outside of Georgia. And I think we have an opportunity to get it right. So I understand you. Yes, I do understand your frustration. And, but we're going to try to work with you to not do everything in that report. That will be pretty much impossible, because even though we talk about efficiencies and we talk about innovation, and you will see efficiencies and you will see innovation, but sometimes resources matter. And so we're going to have to balance this amongst other priorities. But one of the things I said to the report, again, I didn't see the news, but I know what I said in the interview. I don't know what they edited, but I said we're going to make the priorities of the people the priority of their government, and this is an issue that is risen to the level of a high priority, because I'm getting your letters, I'm getting your telephone calls, I'm getting your emails. This is our 8th of 11 town hall meetings that we've scheduled, and we'll schedule more, and you're showing up at our meetings, and I'm hearing you, and the commissioners are hearing you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes. You're next. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for taking my question. There
Sure.
are a
Thank you for your
couple of
question.
houses in my neighborhood that burned down a few years ago, and they're still there, burned. The yards are overgrown, the houses are crumbling and decaying, and we've reported them to code enforcement, and nothing has happened.
Is there anybody here from code compliance? Okay. Well, Gary Cornell is our Director of Planning and Sustainability, and he oversees the area of code compliance, and you're going to take down her addresses, the addresses of those properties, and he's going to get right on it. Okay? All right. Thank you for bringing that question. Yes, ma'am. Here, you want to use my mic? You know what they tell me? Never give up my mic.
Because you'll never get it back. I'm wearing red, but I also should be wearing green because my question is about recycling in the county.
I thought it was about money.
No.
Okay.
Right now we're doing the dual stream recycling. I'm just curious if the county's looking to go into a single stream. And that's
What is dual stream recycling? I'm not sure.
like we have to separate all of our glass and plastics from our paper. So we have a bin for our paper products and then
in the bag.
blue bag for all of our other products.
Yeah. You want to talk about that, Ted?
Yeah, it's a little complicated, but over the course of this year, later in the year, you'll see a lot of discussion about where our recycling programs go as well as our other waste programs. Right now, we have about 20% participation in the curbside program. It was designed the way it currently is so that the paper products and the glass and other products all going in the same truck. By bagging the glass with the plastic could minimize some of the breakage so that we get the best recovery on the materials from our processor, which currently is S&P Recycling. So that's the way it was designed up front. It's a pretty typical program for a lot of cities. Right now, our bigger challenge is how do we get the participation from 20% to a bigger number. So you're going to see a big marketing effort the next few months and work on participation. And then come this fall, when it comes time to start talking about next year's budget and rates and all those things, we'll have more community discussion about, given our recycling participation, hopefully continuing to grow, is the community ready to change the mix of garbage and recycling services? Some want to put more emphasis on recycling. Some want the maximum convenience that our system provides now, where you can pretty well put anything at the curb at your convenience, and if our guys can lift it, they'll take it. Legitimate public debate, a lot of different opinions on this. And so before next year, when we have to go one way or the other, either higher rates to keep convenience or keep the lower rates, but more people have to be recycling, we'll get to that point. But your question of should we change from dual stream to single stream will be part of that discussion working toward next year.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that it'll also be in the discussion about 1 day per week for trash instead of 2 days.
Very much so. What we're trying to evaluate now is if we can move towards 100% and perhaps even mandatory recycling, that will reduce the amount of other types of trash that we have and allow us to reduce that. So we're working on a balance, and that's usually the question. You hear differences of opinion, and so that's why we're trying to do more public education first and change people's practices towards recycling. We need to get a higher percentage actually doing recycling. To some degree, it depends on where you are in the life cycle. I mean, a few years ago, I have young children, so a few years ago when I had babies, trash, you know what I mean. A lot of trash was being created in my house, and I don't think I need to say anything more about that. But now, I get it better, and I think that you'll see us moving our recycling numbers up. So that's where we're headed this year. Yes, ma'am. In the red right here. Why not just knock out everybody who hadn't spoken wearing red? Okay, go ahead.
I'm wearing red, but I'm actually going along with that question there. I signed up for recycling.
Yes.
Back in August of last year. They have never come to my house.
Really?
The blue
do you
bag
have the bin?
disappears. Somebody's taken the blue bag, but it's not the recycling guys. If it's left out anywhere near the edge of the road, the garbage guys pick it up on Friday. And it just goes in the garbage. And I'm going to a lot of trouble and not getting any results. I've called several times.
We definitely need to get your address and get that fixed. That's the first time I've heard that. I apologize to you for that happening. That shouldn't happen.
No.
And we'll make sure that we fix that.
Thank
okay?
you.
So thank you very much. Who's next? Erica? Right here? Okay.
I think I heard Ted Reinhardt say that hopefully by the end of the quarter, things will be better at Sugar Creek. We don't have that long to resolve our issues. The fee issue, the disrespect by the staff people, we need those resolved now. So I think it's something that your staff needs to look at now instead of later.
Okay. Everybody who has an issue, because this is the first time this has come to my attention, I think what Ted was pointing out is that two things have changed. We've got a new vendor delivering services and a new model for delivering services because of our budgetary challenges. we're no longer able to subsidize with tax dollars. In other words, the goal is that the fees should cover the actual cost of delivering the service. That's part of the way we were able to balance a budget with declining revenue and without having any further impact on taxes. And so, but as I pointed out, that's no excuse for not having good customer service. We expect anybody who we give a contract to who's delivering services to our citizens to do it with good customer service. We're going to be launching in the month of April, Claudette, right? Where's Claudette? Okay, Claudette, customer service is one of my pet peeves. And we're going to be launching a major customer, I'll get to you. Let me finish the sentence. I'll let you get part B. A major customer service initiative where our citizens, it's going to start as a pilot program in certain departments. Our citizens who interface with the government can give immediate customer feedback, and then the employees who deliver that service will be evaluated, and they'll be eligible for performance incentives based upon the customer service they deliver. In other words, we're not only changing the way we look at customer service, but we're getting direct feedback from our customers, and we're going to use that as an evaluation tool. And we also have here, I saw our Human Resource Director, Benita Ransom, who's here, so this is Ms. Ransom. So it's important for us, number one, now to know where those public service issues are, and it will be important that you give us your feedback once we put that system in place. And we want to make it as user-friendly. We have some kiosks, but one of the things I've said to our staff is, no, when you go home, you ought to be able to get an email at home or some sort of contact from the county that says, would you be willing to take a short survey? And then that short, again, we would use that short survey to evaluate the employee. Not only to catch those employees who are doing a poor job, but for those employees who are doing a good job, what they should be saying to you is, did you have a good customer service experience today? And would you be willing to take a survey? And you'll say, hopefully, yes, I did, and yes, I would. And you'll say something good and positive about those employees as well. What's your part B?
Part B is we don't have the tennis professionals on site to assist us with with court reservations, even answering questions. We can't buy a can of balls at the center. So that's a big issue. We need some tennis professionals to handle those kinds of things.
Okay, who is the vendor? Who is this vendor that we're talking about?
Sidmar.
Okay, all right. All right. Well, I wasn't trying to call anybody out, but I'm okay. All right. We'll have, okay. Got it. We'll have that conversation. Yes.
Yes, I'd just like to say that all of us who are here on behalf of the animals tonight are here for our passion for those animals that have been in desperate need for a very long time. However, one of the things that would help all of us is if the laws preventing and regulating backyard breeding were strengthened in this county. I dare say that for every one of us wearing red, there's probably a history of 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 animals that we personally have had to take off the streets. We've had to find the funds to get those animals vetted and cared for. And we'd be very happy to put those efforts into raising money for another facility. We'd be very happy to put those efforts into tightening up the grip on these backyard breeders. I was walking some of my most recent rescued dogs in my neighborhood. I live in Clarkston. And I had at least 5 people come out to me and say, he's beautiful. If you ever want to give him a home, I'd love to take him. And I said, well, we'll talk about that. You can fill out an application. And the answer was, he hasn't been neutered, has he? Because I want to breed him. And I honestly could not sleep after hearing that from 3 or 4 of my neighbors. And all of us hear this again and again and again. The needs for facilities, the needs for staff, the need for endless taxpayer money would be diminished greatly if we simply reached out and stopped these people from backyard breeding, where they put no money whatsoever into these dogs. They sell the puppies for $5 or $10, and the rest of us have to pick up the tab. Stop it there, and we will not have to have exponentially growing budgets year after year after year to pick up the mess. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want you to know that in the report there are recommendations for changes in the code. Those are being vetted by our staff because some of those touch a variety of different departments. We will then make recommendations to the board and ask the board to act where appropriate. And then I agree with you over time. I mean, one of the things the chair of the task force told me yesterday is that part of the public awareness campaign has also been centered on pet ownership and teaching people, you know, all of what that means. But there is going to be a cost initially. Over time, we may be able to see a decline. But, you know, let's be clear, we're going to have to make some choices about where we start. Because if we got to upgrade our facility, as we're asking the Board of Commissioners to approve right now, that's going to cost $400,000. I was in there yesterday. We need a new ventilation, air conditioning in there. And Director Mooneyham is in there. God bless her every day. I mean, so, you know, along with the pets that are there. So we've got to have better ventilation. That costs money. We do need a better facility. That's going to cost money. We do have to do public awareness. That's going to cost some money. And we do have to have enforcement. And that means not only the 10 new people that we put in there, but maybe even more. And so all that comes with a price. So I understand in the long term, I get the vision. And I think that's important enough for us to start now. But without some resources being put at it, and it doesn't all have to be public resources. We also talked about public-private partnerships. So we understand, but it will take some resources. Okay, yes, ma'am. And I'll get you to.
Yeah, and that was actually a good lead into what I was going to talk about, is the overpopulation, the spay and neuter programs, the public awareness campaigns. For example, when I used to volunteer at the Humane Society in Chicago, and they neutered those dogs when even as puppies, before they adopted them out. So if you do cut down on the backyard breeding and the overpopulation by spay and neuter programs, campaign programs, et cetera, then eventually your costs are going to continue to shrink every year. So that was one of my questions. And then the second part of my question is, have you talked about when the 10 positions are going to be filled and when those feet will hit the street, if you will? And then the second part of that is, how will the staff get the support that they need to be able to do their job with passion, with caring, et cetera? Example, one of my very dear friends in Kirkwood got attacked by a pit bull, and they couldn't find the dog. And the animal control came out, and they said, well, have to call us back again tomorrow because we just don't have time to look for the dog. She had to go through a series of rabies shots for 7 shots because they couldn't get that dog that lived in the neighborhood. So those are my questions, just generally accountability from that part.
Part of the customer service initiative that we talked about includes training and education of our employees. You can't just say, these are the rules, now start treating people better and you'll be eligible for some sort of pay for performance incentive. I mean, you got to teach people, what does that mean? You know, how do you interface with your customer given the field that you're in? And so we are talking about a specific schedule for training. In fact, that will be the first component of the customer service training. Let's see, you said something else. What was it? Oh, when they're going to hit the street. Again, Director Mooneyham may be able to answer that, but one of the things in approving the budget, and all 10 positions were approved, I think it was 6 that the Board of Commissioners said, we're going to go ahead and approve funding for, but we're not going to release that funding outside. They put it in a reserve account until they had an opportunity to receive the task force report and to be briefed on it. And so they've had an opportunity to receive it just a few days ago, in all fairness to them, it took us, we spent 2 weeks reviewing it. We expect that they'll spend time and, take a reasonable amount of time, not an overly long period of time. And then we're also going to provide them a briefing of some of the things that we think are going to be necessary to move forward and how we're going to have to work in a joint fashion. This will have to be a team approach between the CEO's office and the Board of Commissioners in order to get to the goal line. I can't, this is American government, it's a democracy, so I can't just, appropriate the money. I can work with the professional staff in the county government, and then we go to the board and we brief them and make sure that they're informed, take their questions, and then they get to make the decisions about how and when the money will be appropriated. But what they've said to us is that, give us an opportunity to get the report, review the report, and we will then release the funds so that the positions can be hired. So they have that information. They'll get their briefing Tuesday, and then we'll go from there. Okay? Okay, who did I say? I promised.